Hello everyone, Ben here and welcome to something a bit special. This week's feature race takes us back to some 20th century classics in the shape of 80s and 90s touring cars and the VW Scirocco for a multi-class event at Brands Hatch. We're in Class B in the white and red Scirocco. Starting from P2 on the grid, we have a great chance to win our class and take our first victory ever on the RaceRoom ranked servers. We've got so much great sim racing coming up on the channel. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of it. And once you're done with this video, go and check out Captain Flatspot, another great YouTuber with some fantastic RaceRoom content on his channel. The VR ranked races are well worth a watch. You can find his channel in the description. Right then, let's go to the grid. Right then, here we are on the grid, starting in P2, waiting for the lights. We've engaged first gear to give ourselves the best start possible. You're able to do that on RaceRoom, and away we go. We've got a great launch off the start there, and we are now up into first place. We're going to lead into Paddock Hill Bend. We've got the faster class of touring cars up ahead there, who are now just navigating their way down to the hairpin for the first time. We are going to get on the brakes slightly later than some of them, as they're all bunched together in the pack, and that's going to force us to the inside and actually look to make a bit of an overtaking move. We've got cars going left and right up ahead, so it's going to be a little bit messy through these first couple of corners. We've ducked back to the inside as the touring car darted ahead of us. They're going to have much more power down the straights, but it's going to be really difficult navigating some of the cars up ahead while trying to keep the other VWs in our class behind us. We're getting pinched on the inside of the apex there, but it was just about trying to find a way anyway through that corner. We get a slight nudge from the touring car as it comes past, but I'm hoping this is going to settle down as the touring car class gets away from us. But you can see immediately there, we're at the head of the VW pack. We've got two cars in close pursuit of us as we go through the back section of the lap for the first time. So we lead our race. This is pretty much the first time that I've been in this sort of position in a ranked session in RaceRoom. So very exciting. I know I've got a good chance of winning this race. As one of the touring cars loses it on the right hand side, one of the VWs behind us was going to go round our outside, but he has to think again as he very nearly collected the touring car that was rejoining there, having made a slight mistake, and just about got out of it in time. Two cars attempting to vie for position up ahead of us. That's going to slow them down coming out of the final corner, but we're going to cross the line now at the end of our first lap in first place and with a decent enough gap back to second position. So we are in a really good spot here, and I'm thinking, wow, this could be our chance of getting our first victory. Unfortunately, something then happens, and I can only really describe this as a technical glitch. You'll see there we froze on track. We actually reappeared in the middle of another car. So we were quite lucky to not crash out as well as freeze there. I don't know whether it was a connection issue or whether it's about somebody else dropping out of the server which causes instability. But either way, we've dropped down into third place, and I couldn't believe it. At the time, I was so gutted that basically I'd lost the opportunity to kind of lead in this race. We nearly made contact there with a touring car that was exiting slowly, but he's now going to power away from us. So we haven't fallen too far back, but really being at the head of the VW pack is a big advantage, because it's going to get messy here with slower moving Class A traffic, and the more you get bogged down in that, then your sort of chances of essentially breaking away from the pack really diminish. I suppose this sort of thing happens in real life racing. You get technical flaws or glitches that kind of kick in. So that's how I sort of dealt with it mentally. I thought, well, okay, let's imagine it was a sort of a stuck gear shift or something like that. But in the end, we're having to deal with it live on track and try and just make the best of the situation. So into third place now. Basically, we've got a 7/10 gap, about 8/10 gap to the car behind, but we've got a pretty good chance of trying to get straight back past the car up ahead. It looks as if the lead car is gapping us just slightly, but he's going to have some of that slower moving Class A traffic to deal with as well. So it is still all to play for, and I've just got to try and process that disappointment and get on with it, basically. So we come into the hairpin now with nearly a third of this race already gone, and I'm just going to try and put some pressure on, basically. We've got a car off track there on the right hand side and rejoining. That is going to be a theme of this race. I mean, the touring cars are a handful, there's no doubt about it, and some of the guys at the back of that class were really struggling all the way through the race to keep the cars on track. So that means, unlike other multi-class races we've done so far, where essentially Class A disappears off into the distance and we don't really see them again in a sprint race, so we get a little knock from behind there, we really are racing side by side with cars in the faster class pretty much all the way through this race. But this has given us an opportunity now to go around the outside of the sweeping right-hander here. It's not really a place you want to be, and the guy on the inside takes the grass to try and make sure we all get through okay. That's allowed Hennig behind us to close up, and so we're pretty much now going 3 abreast for a little while down that short straight. We have to back out of it because you're not going to go side by side through that set of corners, and now we're into the fast sweeping right-hander towards the end of this back section of the lap as we head into the third sector. We are catching the guys in the faster class here, so again, the traffic and the kind of field is going to bunch up, and that is going to make it very, very difficult to spot our overtaking opportunities. We move to the left-hand side here to try and get around the outside, potentially into the final corner, but that is going to be very difficult to do as well. So we have to just drop back into position as we come along the start-finish straight. Once again, we've got a yellow flag out, so presumably that's going to be another incident into Paddock Hill Bend that we just need to be mindful of. Actually, there was a car to our left there that had gone off, and another car then spears off to the right hand side as well. So really you just had to be on your toes all the way through this race. We're now being challenged from behind as we come around the hairpin. The driver just ahead of us there in second place has got a drive-through penalty. I'm not really sure what for. Maybe it was a kind of an accumulation of incident points or an off track, but that is going to then presumably give us an opportunity to get past. We are on the inside, so we might do the move on track, not wait for him to serve that penalty, but we can't make that move stick down the inside. He's going to get a better run out of the corner, and he's going to try and tuck into a little bit of the slipstream with the touring car ahead. We've got Hennig behind us who's putting on all sorts of pressure here as well. So we are going pretty much 3 wide here. Hennig has a think about going down our inside. He just backs out at the last minute, as do we, to allow Kirchhoff through. He runs wide on exit though, so we're going to get a better run into this next right-hander. We think better of going directly side by side, but again he gets a poor exit, so we've got no choice. We're going to have to go for it. We come around the outside, we then go, we basically come 3 wide, and he gets squeezed in the middle. He just about holds onto it there. What a fantastic save as he got pushed onto the grass and the rear end was stepping out on him, and we are up into second position. And look at that, we can see the lead driver. He's just 1.4 seconds ahead of us as he's now having to jostle with some of that touring car traffic up ahead. So half race distance now, just about, and having gone from leading the race to being back into third, we're now in second place. We've still got that pressure from behind, and we've got more touring cars coming back from behind us as well. You can see that in our rear view mirror there. So we're going to have to be mindful of quicker traffic coming past us, as well as trying to gain time back on the leader. We've got a touring car rejoining up ahead of us, and he's got it all wrong into the hairpin. We're going to make more contact there, so our incident points are now racking up. He's still on our outside here. That becomes the inside corner, and look at that. I'm not quite sure what that was all about, but he missed his braking again, and it is just really messy here. It's an extra challenge, and it's quite fun and engaging, but you just don't know what's going to happen next. And so we've now got Hennig behind us, who's basically pushing us through this corner, but I know they've got the touring car on their outside as well, who's going to now fly past us on this back straight. He's going to weave to the outside of us, which is fair enough, I suppose. I just want him to get clear of us, really. I don't want him involved in our race because I've got enough to be dealing with. We've got another car rejoining there, basically looking to drive into us. My goodness me. Mercifully he got on the brakes, and look at that behind us. You can see him reversing then off track again, so he's got that absolutely all wrong. So carnage, basically, real drama on basically every lap, as drivers struggle to control the Class A cars, and we're trying to fight for the lead. We make a mistake there and run wide, in fairness. We can't put that on anybody else. So that's our incident points up to 21. So, and we've got a slowdown penalty that I'm having to kind of manage here as well, without losing the spot to Hennig, who's within 2/10 of us now. He's going to put his nose down the inside on the final corner, but he can't make that stick. And we've got a touring car off to the left-hand side. So it just really was absolutely non-stop. I think Kirchhoff now is taking his drive-through penalty. Yes, he's gone in to the pits, so he will now drop out of this competition for the podium places. So it's going to be between Hennig and I, and then a question of whether we can get onto the back of the leader, who's now 4 seconds ahead. Hennig's going to make a move down our inside though, and there's not a lot I can do about that. He had better speed into the hairpin. We're going to go side by side on exit as I try the cutback move, but he has the high ground for the next left-hander, and he just makes that move stick. All good racing, all fair, and we're now down back into 3rd place. We're going to try and make that move straight back though, up the inside here. Again though, although you can get a decent line on the inside, it's not the faster line through the corner. He gets better exit speed as he's able to swoop around the outside, and we're going to have to just stick into his draft and try and stick with him through the back half of this lap, because it's really difficult to pass here at Brands Hatch. We're going to try and stick close. He's drifted slightly wide there through the right-hander, so that is going to give us a chance straight away. In fact, we've got great exit speed compared to Hennig up ahead. We're going to have the apex of the next corner, and we're going to just run him out wide. He sensibly gets off the accelerator. He knows he's lost that place. We are back up into 2nd, so fantastic racing action there, as we lost 2nd spot at the beginning of the lap, and then we got it back just at a series of corners later. He's going to try and just spook us on the inside there to the left-hander, but we managed to see him off in that regard, and he drops to 3 or 4 tenths behind us. Unfortunately, as we head into the final 4 minutes of this race. Oh, and we've ran slightly wide there. That was a scary moment. We could have been off into the gravel there, but just about held it. But as we head into the final 4 minutes, the leader has managed to break clear and is a good 5-6 seconds ahead of us now, as once again we've got a Class A car trying to recover and get back past us there, and just outpowering us down the straight. So we're going to have that to deal with too, and Hennig is continuing to bite at our ankles. He's just 2 tenths behind now. So our main battle, I think realistically now, is going to be to hold on to 2nd place. Unfortunately, I just don't think we're going to have the pace to get back onto the rear wing of the leader, and so it's going to be about consolidating what we have. It would still be a great finish, even though I do think on a different day with a different bit of luck we might have been fighting for the lead. So we're coming now onto the back straight. The touring car should now power away from us, and although we do have a car a few spots back from Class A that may yet overtake us, hopefully we're going to just be able to focus on keeping Hennig behind, because he's got great pace here. You can see he's basically nose to tail with us, pushing us through the corners, and I've got to be really mindful that he might try and make a move down our inside. We should have enough of a gap here that he won't try it into this right-hander, and you'd have to be pretty crazy to try an overtaking move into this final right-hander through the middle section of the lap, and he just about puts some pressure on, but he doesn't actually go for the move. He's going to try and line something up. Is he round the outside onto the left-hander, but he can't get alongside us, so we're able to hold the position. And once again, we're going to head to the end of this lap with just a couple more laps to go, really, given where we are with the time limit of this race, looking to keep him behind us. I think his best chance, as he managed to a lap or so ago, is going to be into the hairpin. So I have to try and just maximise our exit from Paddock Hill Bend, and then hold a sensible line. He runs much wider than we do, as we take a slightly defensive line, but that will give him a bit more speed on exit. But he's going to have to try and get round us, and that's not easy, as we stick to the middle of the track, forcing him to the outside really. So he's going to tuck back in behind us again, and we're running very, very close on track now. But honestly, at this stage of the race, I did feel like I probably had it under control. I know that sounds slightly complacent really, but Hennig there, he's dropped back to kind of 8 tenths behind. I think we've got very similar pace basically, and so I do have the advantage of being the lead car on track, and so it's just about how I position my car ultimately, and trying to not make a mistake. It's very, very difficult to pass on Brands Hatch. we've seen that in other series, and although it's slightly more straightforward in perhaps these slower cars, you've got a bit more time to think about your moves and sort of position the car. Nevertheless, I've got the advantage really. It's going to be me making a mistake that allows him past. So I just have to minimise that. As we see, talking of mistakes, another mistake from one of the Class A cars there up ahead as he slams it into the wall on the right hand side. So that has given us another bit of clear track up ahead, and thankfully we didn't get caught up in that accident. We've got about a second gap now to Hennig behind as we enter into the final minute of this race, and unfortunately, despite having a relatively clean run through the last lap and a bit, we haven't closed the gap at all to the leader. So he's now well clear, and it is, as I said, going to be a battle for second place here today. So we're coming round now as we see a car exiting the pits just behind us. So clearly more incidents all the way through the pack, it seems, and we are now coming down into the hairpin once again. We've got more than enough space to Hennig behind to not fear a move this lap around, but he is now going to come under pressure from one of the Class A cars behind. So can't take anything for granted, despite the fact that I felt relatively comfortable in the battle with Hennig, because the big X factor here is these other cars from Class A that have been continually coming past us, having some sort of incident, and then having to make their way back past us again. So here we go, we're about to see it once more as the touring car pulls to the left hand side to get past Hennig. Is he going to have enough time to get past us as well before we head into the right hander? He just about is, so I'm going to try and let him go. Essentially, I do not want to be going side by side with him. We've got confirmation that this is the last racing lap, so it is now a sprint to the finish between Hennig and I, as we just look to keep it nice and clean, nice and stable through these corners. He is closing in on us, but that is partly because I'm driving reasonably conservatively at this point. I do not want to get involved in any sort of last lap or even worse last corner action that we don't need to. He basically comes right up to our rear bumper there through the left-hander, but he's not going to find a way past there. We've got one corner left now to navigate in order to hold on to second place. Hennig looking pretty racy behind us, but I think we're going to hold it okay in the end as we come now along the start finish straight for the final time of an absolute banger of a race. Accident and incident filled, and we've managed to, despite that technical glitch at the beginning of the race which perhaps cost us a chance of victory, we've managed to weave our way through and come home in a really positive second place. Really happy with that. Good pace throughout the race, and you know, unfortunate that we couldn't maintain that fight for victory, but who knows what would have happened. Maybe we would have got involved in other incidents, so you know, I think I've got to be happy with coming home in second place. There's confirmation of the classified results, and the end of another fantastic feature race. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like, it really helps the channel. Subscribe so you don't miss any of the action we've got coming up, and I will see you next time.